you can let us know in the chat, fantastic. Okay, so let's get officially started here and say good evening and welcome to everybody to this special webinar we're doing this evening, where I'm delighted to be interviewing Morag Stevenson, one of the graduates of the college, who's also now a qualified Hypno-CBT therapist, and also is one of our tutors and coaches and supervisors for the online diploma. So I'm really excited to meet her and find out about her journey, because I haven't had a chance to get into any level of detail about this. And then Morag's going to be sharing about how she set her practice up, and particularly her focus into helping people change habits, particularly body-focused repetitive behaviors, using something called habit reversal training combined with hypnosis, which is really powerful. So I'm really excited. For those of you, I don't know who's meeting me for the first time. Maybe some of you are. My name is Mark Davis. I'm the director and principal at the UK College of Hypnosis and Hypnotherapy, where I actually trained myself in 2007, set up a very successful private practice, and then ended up taking over the college, having the chance to take it over when the founder, Donald Robertson, emigrated in 2013. And since then, it's grown and built. And we've had these wonderful people come through, like Morag, who steamed ahead, haven't hesitated, qualified, set up their business, and then got experienced enough. And we could see also from how well she did in her assessment questions, because we have a little kind of, oh, this person's worth looking at. We then approached her to be one of the coaches and tutors and supervisors for the online diploma. So I'm delighted to have Morag with me this evening. Morag, just before we get into just do a quick say hello, where you're connecting from, 30-second intro, then we're going to get into your bio big time.
Okay, so hello, I'm connecting from Grenoble in France, where I spend half of my time. That's it. Intro.
Yeah, because we'll come back. Well, where do you spend the rest of your time? That's what we want to know now.
Oh, the rest of my time I spend in Teddington, southwest London.
Grenoble sounds more interesting. I don't know.
Well, I have lived in France for about 30 odd years. So I came back to the UK in 2016. Yeah.
You recommend the move to France then?
Oh, this is home.
My wife's French, and I'm like, well, we could go there despite Brexit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a beautiful view from my apartment of the mountains of the Alps. Yeah.
Fabulous. Oh, I haven't been there for ages. So fantastic. Welcome, Morag. So what we're going to do this evening is I'm going to ask Morag, first of all, in the first third, about her journey. So we found out her journey in terms of what she was doing before she got into becoming a therapist, how she decided to get there, process of training, what was that all like? Because I think that's always of interest to watch how people did things, decisions they made, etc. And the experience of training, and then also getting qualified, but getting set up in practice. And then we'll switch into looking at what that takes, because not everyone gets there, you know. They don't get qualified, they don't all get set up in practice. What that's like, and I'm going to be asking Morag for tips along the way, so we can hear that. Also, because Morag's coaching lots of people through the diploma, she's got this kind of meta set of information that she'll be able to share about that. And then how she got set up. Yeah, I mean, things like her website, and how she chose particularly then to specialize into body focused repetitive behaviors, things like hair pulling, skin picking, nail biting, etc. Using one of the things that we teach on the course, which is called habit reversal training, one of the many methods on there, but she's zeroed in on that particular very powerful, quite simple actually technique, and then adding the power of hypnosis to that, and I think a bit more of the toolbox I want to find, because I think you've really built out a much stronger approach to it than just using habit reversal. And so we'll get into that specific, her specialization area, and talk about maybe kind of a sense of a few cases, how we work with these sorts of things, and some of the discoveries that she's found working with that. So how does that sound, everybody? Good. Put your questions in the Q&A panel. I'll also be scanning here the chat. Hi Shohan, hi Monica, hi Kathy, hi Fiona, hi Anne Glennie up there, and Stornoway out to Hebrides. Yeah, for 6 months now. We're going to get you on here, Anne Glennie, because I'm so interested in your story. She's a big into education and literacy in Scotland. Marianne Prasad, welcome, and Lindsay, fantastic. So, Morag, tell us, what were you? Let's go back in time. What
Back in time. So,
what's your background professionally
yeah,
and educationally? Then how do you decide to get into this weird stuff?
yeah, good question. So, I did a degree in applied social sciences way back in the 80s up in Ormskirk near Liverpool, if you know
Mm.
that neck of the woods. Had a good 3 years there, managed to get my degree, amongst other things. And then, because it was dark and dreary in the UK, I needed to get out of there. And I went to Spain and taught English as a foreign language. Um, found a job offer in a TSB summer holiday job book. TSB as in the Trustee Saving Bank.
Yes, yes,
Anyway,
yes.
yeah.
We remember that.
Yeah. Then went on to France, where I was also a teacher of English as a foreign language. I got married, had my 3 children, lived out in the countryside, did all of that. And then didn't like English teaching anymore. I'd done it, had worn the t-shirt, did all the past participles and the past tenses to death. And then I just happened to fall into a career of direct sales, which was quite strange, in a well-known German company for a well-known product that's sold in France, a cooking appliance. And so I started off by being a salesperson, going to people's houses, a little bit like Tupperware. You go to somebody's house, you cook something in this wonderful machine, and then you say, come and buy it, yeah, or come and earn it. People could also earn it. So I did that. I was pretty good at it, and I ended up leading teams, creating
Wow.
teams,
Wow.
building up a region, becoming the director of that region. And then after 7 years of that, I was taken up into the head office. So I moved. The family moved with me over into Nantes, which is southwest France. And I was in the marketing department, and I headed up a team. We did all the training for the country. We did the all of the incentives, all the nice stuff for the advisors that they could win if they sold so many appliances. And we also worked a lot on the launch of a new product. So it was a very, very intense few years. And then the German headquarters, they kept wanting me to go to different English-speaking countries, the States. They kept asking me to go back to the UK. And the third time they asked me, I thought, right, okay, I'll go. So that was in 2016. And I was the company director in the UK, heading up the UK and Ireland.
Wow. So you worked all the way up from being
Yep,
kind of foot soldier in
yep,
sales, door to door,
yep,
not
yep.
quite, but kind of,
Yeah, kind
right the
of.
way
Yeah,
up to be company
yeah,
director. Wow. That's
yeah,
impressive journey. I love those journeys where people do
yeah.
that.
It was fun. It was very hard work. I learned an awful lot about sales, about marketing, about people, about teaching women how they can have confidence in themselves. Because this was a bit of kit that was worth, at the time, it was €1,000, which is a lot of money. Turned up at somebody's house, you showed them a few recipes, you said, do you want to buy this? So you need to have a bit of, determination
And
to
mostly women
do
doing
that.
it. So predominantly
Yeah,
female sales
yeah,
force. Well,
yeah,
fantastic.
predominantly female sales force. And so when I was when I was head of training, it was also teaching women to have confidence in themselves, in their ability, in their
Mm.
and using self-hypnosis, really, when I think about it. Imagine that you're there, imagine that you're in front of the person, imagine it's going well, imagine the smile on the person's face, etc.,
Mm.
etc. Lots of stories from that time. Anyway, so then I came back to England. I came back with my youngest son, left my now ex-husband behind. So it was a whole life change going on there as well. My son finished off his schooling in the French lycée, and I continued on working at the company. And then, as all companies change, there are a whole load of changes going on at the international board level. New people came in, and then everything changed. And I was offered redundancy, and it was kind of, yeah, okay, I've done it. You know, I've done this journey, I've enjoyed it, but now it's not fun anymore. Yeah, I've gone as high as I can. I think I've proved something to myself. Let me try something else. So that was in 2019. And that's when, after that, as you can imagine, it was a bit of a, what do I do now kind of moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it sounds like you were pretty full on plugged in, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I was full on, but the company had changed. Yeah. So that was when I thought, what do I want to do now? You know, at the age that I was then, which was what, 50, 55, I knew I didn't want another high-flying corporate job. I knew I wanted more time for myself. And I knew that I wanted to do something that was more, it's going to sound a bit corny, but more meaningful. Yeah. More meaningful, more helpful. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So then when I was talking with some friends, they talked about CBT. So I Googled CBT and saw you had to train for 4 years or whatever. And I'm not doing that. And then it must have been Google that led me to your school, and to another couple of schools.
Was hypnotherapy part of the searches, and was that on your radar, the hypnosis part, or did that actually? That's
It
interesting.
came in after the CBT. I really can't remember if it was part of my
Mm.
search then, but I had your school and a couple of other schools, and I was comparing, you know, the prices and what you did, etc. And then I came along to a day. I remember very clearly the day that I came along to, when it was still live in London. Yeah,
Oh, you came to
you could.
observe. You came for the self-hypnote the first day, or you did an observational day?
I came to the day when you put your hand in a bucket of water, ice cold
Oh,
water.
so you observational day, yeah. Well, that's very smart. Not many colleges do that. Let people come in and then often then throw you in. Go on, do some pain control
Yeah,
hypnosis. You just
but
walked in.
I thought that was exceptional because it really lets you see what the teaching is like, what the atmosphere is like. You know, because you're putting in a lot of, you're going to put money into this, you're going to put time and effort. You want to see what's going on behind the scenes. And with my background, of course, I was particularly interested in all of that. So I came along and I thought, yeah, I'm going to do this. So that's what I did. I did 2019, and then 2020, and I was the cohort which stopped because of or it went online because of COVID. Yeah.
Oh, so you were in the where we finished stage 2 and then we finished up and then we did. I think you were in that last group.
Stage 1, stage 2 was in London, and then stage 3. The Monday, I remember very clearly,
That
Monday and
was a
Tuesday,
trip.
it was in London because my kids were in France, were saying, "Don't go, Mum, don't go. There's this virus." And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it was online.
Well, we
Unfortunately, there
were
was,
we were scanning everyone's temperature when they
yes,
came in. We were
yeah,
doing all sorts of things, but
yeah,
at the same time, we were trying to figure out Zoom and run the class
yeah,
live in the classroom and stream it to people who wanted it. And we'd never
yeah,
done that before. And then try to get it. It was anyway.
yeah, a
It was a
bit
lot of.
crazy.
Actually, I loved it because of my background, what I was involved in terms of the meditation place I was in India, and we used to do, and in America, and we do global tours as well. And the amount of creative problem solving and just
Yeah,
crisis management, all
yeah,
hands on deck
yeah,
and making things happen.
yeah, yeah.
I'm in my element going, right, come on, let's make this happen and
You've got to do
trusting
this,
it
got
will
to
work
do
out.
that. Yeah,
So anyway, it was fabulous. Yeah. Oh wow,
yeah.
you were in that group. How wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, wow.
And then there was kind of a family crisis going on at the same time. I won't go into that, but that was quite, COVID was a was a tough time. Anyway, so then I knuckled down to do the case studies and the essays, or rather the essays and then the case studies. So if you want to know the timing, I qualified in June, and I started must have been December. Yeah, it was December, January, or January, February, March, and then
January,
qualified.
February, March, probably, yeah. And then you
Yeah,
qualified in June. Wow, that's pretty fast. We're actually trying to find all the people that did it in 6 months. So you
yeah,
probably fall in that category. Um,
yeah.
well, let me come back and ask now we got that time. Hey, how were the 3 stages? What stuck out for you? What was some of your favorite bits?
Yeah. So as you can imagine, I'd come from a big corporate job where I'd been working non-stop for the last 15 years, basically. I'd done some of the stuff in different ways that was on the course, but this course really brought it all together. And I remember very clearly doing Leaves on a Stream in the classroom setting, and just thinking, wow, that peacefulness you get. Yeah. The peace you get when you just let those thoughts go by. I remember also very clearly the PMR, progressive muscle relaxation, and how that too just leaves you feeling so relaxed. So those two really stuck out. Sticking my hand in a bucket of freezing water did as
You're
well.
going elbow. You're showing your elbow here, but I presume it was actually your hand. Yeah.
I think it was like that. So that really, I really enjoyed the fact that there were different lecturers. It wasn't just one person all
Just
the
me.
time. Yeah, yeah. No,
Me
I think
too.
it's
I'm
very
really glad
important
it's
that
not just me.
that there are different people, even though you're very keen on things being stuck to that, you've got to go down this road. But even so, it does give you those glimpses of what other people do and how other people are using the stuff. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that. It's very well constructed. The folders are fantastic. Yeah, loads of information in there. The practicals, even though by the end of the 3 weeks it's gone, do we have to do another practical? Do we have to? Do we have to do? There was a little bit of that, but despite that, it was it was very, very useful to test what you are then going to use in a therapeutic in your therapy. So yeah. Ask me
Fantastic.
any questions. I don't know what else to say.
Well, so I mean, I think just let's ask, what are tips on, you got your case studies and assessments done really quickly and impressive. How did you do that? And what would be some of your top tips for people? Because I'm sure there are some people here who'd love to get their assessments and case studies done as quickly as you. And you can if you listen to Morag now.
I guess it was, well, COVID helped. Yeah, there wasn't much else going on.
Uh,
Not
isolate,
having,
isolate.
yeah, isolate. Not having a job. I didn't have small kids around, so that obviously helps. But what also helped me was planning it out. I had a diary and saying, right, assignment 1 is going to be done by this day, assignment 2 by that day, assignment 3 by that day, and really fixing myself those structure, yeah, in which I wanted to get them done by. And I remember I've still got the assignment questions, and I remember putting the date on and saying, right, this is what you've got to concentrate on. So focusing.
So, and then how would you tackle each question? Would you just do a lot of background reading and then come to the question, or would you read the question, try and draft it, then go and do some background? I mean, what was your process?
Yeah, yeah. So I would read the question and then think, oh, don't understand it. Oh, oh. Then I'd say, yes, you can. Yes, you do. Read it again. I still don't understand it. Right, read it again. Read it, and then go back. Then I would go back to the part in the course where, because of course there were no videos then. Yeah, go back to the folder, to the readings. Go back to the basic books the
Mm.
help me out with the titles, the Donald
Medical and
Robertson one, the
yeah, Donald
medical and
Robertson.
dental. Yeah, those two were the main ones. Go back to that. I tried not to distract myself with too many other readings, because otherwise I think you can get lost in a
Definitely, definitely. And you can end up
bowl
doing,
of soup.
well, I've just got to read about this and read about
Yeah,
this and read about this. Then you come back to the question, you're like, oh.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then writing essays, it was quite weird because I don't think I'd written an essay since I graduated, which was about 40 years ago. Anyway, yes, many years ago. So, but once you've done one, then you start getting into the rhythm of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So I'd say it was, it's a bit like when you go to the beach in the summer. Yeah. You can either think about going into the water and think about it for a very long time and sit there and think, oh no, it might be a bit too cold, or it might be a bit too this, or somebody might have peed in it. Yeah. Or you can just go in. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you just about that thing about reading the question and then going, oh, because I think that happens to a lot. And it would happen to me. I'd look at these questions and go, oh, what do they want?
Yeah.
What do they want? What do they want? So how do you get past that in terms of what did you tell yourself? I mean, what did you use any techniques you learned on the course? How did you overcome because you've got
The
two things.
fear.
One, I don't understand this. And two, I haven't written a question before, essay before for ages.
Yeah. Yeah. I think at that point, I wasn't, if I'm truthful, I wasn't using the techniques learned on the course. I
Okay.
think that's been drip feeding into my life, into my work, as an automatic response, little by little. But I was using my experience, saying, come on, all right, what are the key words? What are they asking you here? What are they not asking you? Yeah.
Mm,
So it was underlining the keywords. And if they were asking for three examples, okay, three examples.
yes.
Yeah.
And I
Is
guess
it?
also your timeline made you go, you can't engage in too much avoidance
Yeah.
because of your
Yeah.
timeline.
Yeah.
You've got to push
It
through the
prevents
discomfort.
avoidance.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Push through
prevents
the
avoidance. Yeah. I think I'd said in my head, right, I want to have the website and everything done by September. Yeah.
oh, good.
Um,
Good. And I just think that just worth emphasizing that to everybody, like you kind of said about getting into the water. You can say, and basically what you're doing is you're just avoiding, and it is uncomfortable the first time you start trying to engage with the questions, probably, particularly
mhm.
if you haven't done essays for a while. Got to push through the discomfort and then
Yeah.
kind of get in. Donald Robertson used to talk sometimes getting into hypnosis a bit like getting through the surface of the custard. There's a bit of a skin push
Yes.
through,
Yeah.
then you get
Yeah.
in, and then it's okay. Then you find
Yeah.
how to
Yeah.
swim in the custard. No, that's not
Yeah, and I'm
swimming in.
sure many people are already using the strategies, that they've learned. It's about recognizing, yeah, I'm feeling a bit anxious. Okay, what am I anxious about? That I'm not going to be good enough. That I'm
Hmm.
not going to get it right. That whatever. Yeah, but if you don't write anything, you're sure as hell not going to be good enough. So come on. So it's kind of having that dialogue with yourself and having that time frame of, I'm going to get it done by that date, without
and
giving yourself
and
a kick if you don't. But
you have a number of students that you are nurturing through the program, tutoring, coaching them through the online diploma program. So and that's part of it, right? Is getting them on to
yeah,
getting to do. And so is this what you tell them? Is there anything else you tell them? Anything else you've noticed and discovered in terms of not just your experience, but seeing their experience and approaches?
um, yeah, it's more the fear. It's fear. It's the holding back, the fear. Oh, have you started your essays yet? No, no. Yeah, I know you were going to ask me that. No. What's stopping you? Yeah, but I want to read more. I want to do this more. I want to do that more. Just get on with it. Just do it.
Okay. Okay.
Read the question carefully. Yeah. Don't answer the question that isn't there. Yeah.
Yes.
I had a student the other day who'd had a couple of answers that weren't quite up to scratch.
Mm.
And it was because it wasn't, she'd answered a different question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so often they just don't. You got to read your answer and go, have I actually answered the question?
Question. Yeah.
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 Fantastic. So, you said you want to have your website up by September. So you started the course in January. I think we ended up having to do the online thing maybe because I can't remember when we did the stage 3 webcast, but
It
anyway,
was in March.
it
It
was
was
in
in
March.
March.
It was in March. You got your qualification by June or submitted all your materials by June anyway. Um, and did you get your website up by September? Did you launch by
Yes.
September?
I don't know about launching, but the website was
Lurching, maybe lurching.
it was kind of it was doing that a bit. Yeah, by happenstance, there was a girl on the course whose husband did gave me a hand with the website, with the, you know, because I came from a job where I used to ask people, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? I've got a really good idea, but can you go and do it? I had my team of communication and sales and what have you. They were, you know, but now it was kind of, I've got to learn how to do this stuff. So it was a learning curve for me in terms of understanding the tools and but there's a lot of stuff out there to help you. Yeah. And the
There's,
websites are so much more easier to set up now.
yeah.
So much easier.
So did you
Yeah.
do that a lot of yourself, or did you hire? I mean, you had some help, or was it?
Yes, I had some help with somebody. He did all of the SEO because I had no idea how to do that.
Mhm.
And I knew it was important. So kind of the background bits, yeah. I wrote all of the texts, and it was my first version. And that, I think that's really important, knowing that your website is never finished. It's never
Exactly.
finished.
Yeah.
It's never. It just has to be good enough. Yeah. Don't worry about perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. Yeah. It just has to be good enough with the stuff that works. You know, if you've got a form, fill it out yourself to see if
Yeah.
you actually get the email to see if it works, that kind of thing.
Good enough has to be that those different things actually do work.
Yeah.
But yeah, the copy and the images, it's always a work in progress.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say get some decent headshots of yourself,
Yeah.
um, because people want to know what you look like, normal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So had a bit of help. And then it was up. And then what happened? Then
So
kind of nothing happens because you
yeah.
launch your website and you think, ta-da! But I knew that was going to happen. It was kind of like, and I've had one visit in a week. So then what did I do? Yes, another important thing to do. I put a little list of things to do. Yeah, when you do your website is to look at other websites of hypnotherapists. Have a look at them, see what you like, see what you don't like, see what their layout is like, what colors they use, what they say, if they've got a blog, if they put their fees on there or not. That's always a big question. Do I put my fees on there or not? So I didn't, but now I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. They're
Yeah, I
confident
do.
fees. They're confident fees.
Yeah, I didn't start off with those fees. Yeah,
Interesting. So
I
let's
started
just
off.
talk about that because lots of people here are on that curve of now setting up or they set up. How did you decide? What did you price at first, and how do you come to be where you are now?
I think I started. I think I started at £50. I think for the first couple, and then I moved up to 70, and then I moved up to 80, and then I moved up to 90. I'm at 95 for Zoom, and 110 when it's face to face because you've got the room to pay for.
Cover as well. Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
prefer doing most of your clients by Zoom now, or do you do
Most of my clients are Zoom because I'm not always in the same location. When I am back in Teddington, there are people that I see, you know, in the clinic setting, and sometimes it's a blend. Sometimes when I'm back, I'll see people in the clinic. But yeah, the whole thing about fees, I can understand at the beginning you don't feel confident at all to ask anything, let alone put it on your website. But as time goes on, believe me, you do get that confidence, and just charge what you feel is the right amount for you according to where you live. Yeah, you're probably not going to charge the same amount in outside of London, for example, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting, isn't it? If you're doing all your work on Zoom, why does it matter where you live, and why can't you be charging
Yeah,
£120 an hour like people in London? I mean, it's an
yeah,
interesting question. Um, I think pricing is a really interesting thing. I mean, I think obviously when people are starting, it's difficult because they feel like, oh, who am I to? But when I trained with somebody. She came along and trained at the. She did stage one, then she joined. She did stage two and three. Annie Gregg, um, and she came in and she just priced herself at £150 an hour. This was in 2007 in central London. Back over it, Annie. But see, she did have a bit of a feed from a private psychiatric clinic. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting because your pricing will tell something about you. And it's something, if you're below average in your pricing, I mean, it does make it accessible, but also when you premium price, people will assume there's a reason for that. And they'll see
yeah,
that to you, what you do. But everything else has to match up with that. Your presentation has to be good. Your photos on your website it all has to match to that perception of this is a premium version of an offering. And so
yeah. And you're giving lots of stuff with that. You're not only giving the hour of therapy.
yeah,
I always write an email that gives quite a lot of information in it. Yeah, so many people keep those emails and look back on them. There's also the documents, the audios, etc. that you give the person. There's the preparation work. So it's not, I don't think it's priced too much. I don't just turn up. Yeah.
yeah. Good. So how did it grow from having one visit to your website? Has me a bit worried.
Yeah,
If I was
that's what
following
I
your
thought.
story, I'd be like, oh my gosh, she's invested all this money. She's got one visitor to her website.
So I kind of knew anyway that I would need to do something else, and I
Mhm.
knew that I would have to do probably something on social media because I didn't have the huge network in the UK to start from. My network is in France. I kind of didn't want to do it all the therapy in French. There are more people who speak English. So I didn't have a huge network to start with. I didn't want to tap into my ex-work network for obvious
Mhm.
reasons. So I needed to go onto the big wide world of social media. Yeah. So I went with a business coach for that, who his role, it was a group of us, and it was to teach us and to coach us through how to set up a Facebook group. Yeah. So not
Ah,
just your Facebook page, but a Facebook group. And this fits in really nicely with trichotillomania and dermatillomania because hair pulling and skin picking, it's not something you're going to say on LinkedIn, hey, this is what I do. I pull my hair out. You're not going to do that. So people who do have that problem want to be able to talk about it in a space which is safe and where they can speak without the whole world coming in, yeah, which is what a
that-
Facebook
and, and,
group
and,
does.
and find that and find similar people. Well, but let's just wind back on that a little bit. So when did you decide to focus in and specialize in that? Was that early on? Was that later, having kind of more done some more general work and then had a
Yeah,
few cases? How did you get into it?
it was a case study. Oh
Ah,
no, it was just no, sorry, it was just after the case study, just after. Because when I'd qualified, I said to my friends, I said, "Hey, I'm a cognitive behavioral hypnotherapist now." They said, "What? You're not doing what you did before?" No, I've changed, and I need some guinea pigs. So friends came forth, and one of my friends, who's a very good friend, known her for donkey's years, I'd always know she'd always had a bald patch on her head. I just knew it when she got stressed out, it got bigger. When she was less stressed, it got smaller. It was never something we talked about, but it was, she didn't hide it, didn't cover it up. And so initially we started working together for just relaxation. And then quickly it got onto to trichotillomania. So she was my first person that I worked with trichotillomania. Now, interestingly, she's 60 odd, yeah, and she had been pulling her hair and her eyebrows for 40 odd years. She'd given up trying to stop. She'd been to a hypnotherapist once. She's lovely, my friend. She said, he made me wander about in a field in my imagination with flowers. It didn't work. Probably a safe place or something
No,
like
it could have
that.
been having a, she could have been picking the flowers and maybe some replacement, imaginal replacement behavior. Who knows?
Yeah. So yeah, so she'd kind of given up, and that was when I first got into the treatment of trichotillomania, because she has stopped pulling her hair, and this is what 4 or 5 years down the line now. And so hearing her story and her being able to talk about it, I thought there's something here that I could perhaps use in my business. And then I went on to look at the Facebook groups that exist for trichotillomania, and they were all very sad places. Yeah, very sad. There was nowhere with hope. There was nowhere with possible solutions. There were a lot of quacks, take this herbal remedy or I can cure you, etc. And so that's when I started my group, 3 years ago now. I also started a group about a year later for skin picking, and there are about 2,000 people now in those two groups.
Wow.
Either people who suffer from trichotillomania or dermatillomania. There are also other therapists in there. There are also parents of teenagers who suffer with it. It's a real. It's not just pulling out your hair.
Yeah, well,
It
I wanted to ask
affects.
two aspects
Yeah.
about that. One, the name mania. Why is this? It doesn't just sound like a repetitive behavior. It sounds like something that's more out of control.
Yeah.
Which repetitive behaviors are, but particularly and that these, let's say, when I've worked with nail biting, thumb sucking, all this sort of thing, single session, habit reversal training, boom. Follow-up session just to check in, unnecessary. Single 2-hour session, did it. I did work with one person for skin excoriation, skin picking, and I had to do home visits. I can't remember what it was, which was never a good idea. I do not like doing, and I do not do home visits anymore. And she was a dentist actually, and there was a lot of quite severe rigidity going on. I felt
Mm.
that we couldn't really. It didn't work. The whole thing didn't gel as well. I did a couple of sessions, but yeah, I mean, I've done habit reversal training for that, but it seems those two conditions are slightly different to some of the
Yeah.
just repetitive tics and things like that.
Yes. Yeah.
And whatever your pen clicking habits or gum chewing or whatever, lip chewing or whatever. So I'm imagining that's somewhat tied up to the change in appearance that then becomes. But let's talk about, why is it called a mania? Let's talk about these two particular conditions. Are they more tricky? Why are they more tricky? Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, I would say they are more tricky. Excuse the pun. It is more. It isn't just a behavior. There are real urges there. People describe it as being something, I cannot think of anything else until I've got that hair out. It's wrong. It's in the wrong place. It doesn't belong there. Yesterday I was working with a young girl. First session I had with her, she cuts her eyelashes so that they're the same length. There's a real, it needs to be the same length, it needs to be the same color. It's not right, it's wrong. I need to get rid of it. And also there's the eating of your hair, trichophagia, yeah, which affects about 30% of people who have trichotillomania. Yeah. Some people just, you go into a whole other world when you start really looking into it. Yeah. People who eat the roots, people who eat the whole hair. Yeah, it's a whole thing. Yeah.
And then the distress. I mean, there's the distress caused by the change in physical appearance that's different, maybe. I mean, nail biting, you have that to some extent, and I had a doctor who bit his nails so bad they bled, which of course was
Yeah.
tricky. But I think it's different with these because
It's
it's the
yes.
face,
Yeah.
because it's the
Yeah.
hair.
Yeah. Because it's the hair for women. Yeah. Men, I've only treated one man. I've treated about nearly 100 women. Yeah. Only one man. Maybe it's because men just shave it all off. If they've got a beard, they can just shave it. Whereas for a woman, her hair it's a very important part of her appearance. So it affects swimming. It affects going to the theatre. What if somebody's behind me? I don't like people walking behind me. If you pick your eyelashes, I don't like people looking at me from the side because they can see I've got no eyelashes. I can't go out with all this makeup on. The hair pieces, the hair extensions, the hair. It's a whole the loss of self-confidence. The why am I an intelligent woman and at the same time I can spend 2 hours in front of the mirror pulling my hair out, literally pulling my hair out. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, just fascinating. So let's dive into this. Let's just pause for a minute, just check a few questions here. Fiona's asking, what's the Facebook page, please? What's behind this behavior? Which I think you're gonna get into a little bit more and gonna have a look at.
So if they go on my Facebook, normal Facebook, Morag Stevenson, behind that there's access to 2 groups, but it is for people with trichotillomania or dermatillomania. Yeah, or therapists who deal with that, or
Deal with
parents
that.
of children who deal with that, or who have to live with it.
Philippe asks, in our daily lives, many individuals exhibit various verbal, digital, financial, and emotional habits that may require modification. Examples include cursing, over apologizing, excessive screen time and aimless scrolling, impulsive online shopping, people pleasing, and avoidance of conflict. Can we use the Azra and Nunn protocol? What are your thoughts on the advanced approach and framework to reverse these habits?
Of what was that? Was a whole list there.
Yeah, well,
Over
it's listing
shopping.
all
Over
these different
shopping.
things.
Get rid of your credit card. Hide the credit card.
There are some interesting kind of present environment stuff that definitely can help with things.
Yeah.
But basically saying, can we use the Azra and Nunn protocol for a lot of these behaviors like cursing, over apologizing, excessive screen time, aimless scrolling, impulsive online shopping, people pleasing, avoidance of conflict?
Yeah, definitely for scrolling, for mindless scrolling, etc. Definitely over apologizing. No, I wouldn't use habit reversal for over apologizing. I would use more assertiveness training. Yeah, that kind of thing.
It kind of is the habit reversal of apologizing. It's kind of instead of apologizing, I'm going to say no, I'm sorry. Well,
Yeah,
I'm not even
true,
going to say
true.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just going to
Habit
say no.
reversal for me is more something that you do, not something that it's more for a physical. I've always used it as a physical
Physical thing,
habit
yeah.
that you want to change. Yeah.
But I think Philippe is an interesting question. You can, I think, really
Yes.
extend the
Yes, you're
idea,
right. Yeah.
in
Yeah,
terms
you
of
extend the
having
idea. Yeah.
opposite behavior. So instead of, I mean, it's Andrew Salter, instead of pretending
Yeah.
you agree with people, actually dig
Say
your
no.
heels in and
Yeah.
disagree with them and deliberately practice that en masse lots of times
Yes. Yeah.
and mentally rehearse it too.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And have behavioral experiments. I want you to go out and not apologize and come
Yeah.
back and
Yeah.
let's imagine it and then do it. Thought stopping as well could be something that you could use with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then Philippe continues, what techniques do you find more effective for raising awareness of unconscious habits? How can individuals prevent relapse into old habits and make significant progress?
Yeah, that's the big one, because coming back to trichotillomania, it's something that it's chronic, so it tends to wax and wane during the person's life, and awareness of the triggers is key. Yeah, knowing what can set me off. Is it the mirror? Is it the television? Is it a particular armchair? Yeah, tell you the story of one lady. She always used to pull out her hair, and I said, "Where do you do it? I want to know where they do it." And she said, "Well, it's always in this armchair." I said, "Why is it always in this armchair?" She said, "Because it's the dog's chair." I said, "What do you mean it's the dog's chair?" The dog sits on it, and so the dog loses its hair, and so it doesn't matter if she sits in there and pulls her hair, because she can hoover it up at the same time. Yeah. So change the chair. She got rid of that chair. Don't sit in it anymore. Some of the problem of hair pulling was resolved.
So it's a
Yeah.
direct emphasis and your very behavioral approach in terms of what we call stimulus control.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Explain.
Yeah.
I'm using a fancy word there, stimulus control, but
It's
I mean,
recognizing the triggers,
yeah.
and then it's realizing that you can do something about it. And so that's why with the habit reversal, it's super important to ask so many questions so that you really, really, really get a very clear idea of what is happening. I remember when you did the habit reversal in the course, Mark, you were talking about nail biting, and then you were saying, and what do you do with the skin? Do you eat it? Do you not? I'm thinking, oh God, I could never ask that. If you know what I ask now,
You got to be dead curious. You got to get really curious about
you
what their
have to
world is.
know everything, what their particular world is, what they do with their hairs, what the ritual is, so that then you can untie those knots and lead them to a place saying, right, that's a trigger, that's a trigger. What can you do to change it, to alter it, to stop it? Which has got nothing to do with the picking or the pulling, but is setting the scene, if you were. Yeah, that armchair that the lady had was setting the scene. Get rid of the armchair, you change the scene.
Well, and it's very interesting from that idea of concept of something called if-then planning. If you plan, if this happens, then I'll do that. And what we
Yeah,
see is that if-then planning really helps people set up a kind of strategic semi-automaticity. In other words, when that stimulus comes along, it's 5 o'clock because the person's really gone through that, written it out, decided it, even imagined it, rehearsed it. When it's 5 o'clock, I'm going to do this. When it gets to five
yeah,
o'clock, they do tend to do it. So
yes,
what we're doing
yeah,
is kind of a reversal of that. We're noticing the stimulus that has set up the automatic behavior. We're removing that stimulus. So there's no, as you say, the behavior doesn't get triggered so much.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And because it doesn't get triggered so much, you gain confidence. And when you gain confidence, you start to have self-belief, and then you've got that lovely upward spiral. So there's a whole thing about the habit reversal about really, really, really digging deep. And so many people have said with trichotillomania or dermatillomania, nobody's ever asked me that question.
Mm.
Nobody's ever asked me that. I've just understood something. Yeah. Because it's often a habit that people are ashamed of. They're embarrassed by it. They feel guilty of it. They've hidden it from their family, from their friends, from people around them. So they really don't want to look at it. The fact that you're looking at it with them and asking them questions in a non-judgmental way, a caring way, they can use their logical adult brain, yeah, their more rational brain to think, yeah, God, I've just made the connection between that armchair and what I do, or between scrolling and what I do, that it just becomes so automatic. Yeah.
So we're gone for some, obviously an easy win there in terms of, the stimulus control and be able to spot that and change that.
Yeah.
That's, well, great.
Yeah.
But
Low hanging fruit.
low hanging fruit, yeah. But I mean, I'm assuming that I know you bring a number of things to bear, and somebody's also asking about tension release. But I'm assuming that habit reversal remains the central method and approach, although it's got some interesting spin-offs in terms of awareness and things like that. But the central aspect, is that still the central? Is that what you built
Yes,
this around?
it is a very important thing. I combine it not only with the movement of the hand, but also with breathing. I use a lot of the 7-11 breathing because often before somebody pulls, they're extremely tense. Their breathing
Okay.
is shallow. So having them recognize that tension, feel that tension, and be able to release it. And also combined with a very strong, that they choose a strong coping statement. Yeah.
Okay, but let's come back down to the central thing here, because for the benefit of people who don't know our program, those that haven't got to this in
Yeah.
stage two, those that have covered stage two but maybe forgotten this part, who'd like a refresher, get outlined for us in brief, in less than 60 seconds, the habit
Yeah.
reversal training method, which is very strongly evidenced, by the way, everybody.
Yeah, it's very simple, very powerful. You want to replace the habit that the person doesn't want with something that contradicts that habit. So if you're pulling your hair, if you bring your hand down, you can't pull your hair. If you put it in a gentle fist, you can't pull your hair. Yeah. So it's replacing the movement that you don't want with one that you do, and you put it in place in two ways. The person needs to practice it. So that's before the fire, and then use it. So it's a bit like there's a fire drill, and then they use it when there's a fire. So practicing it is in quick succession, imagining different moments during their day. So it's better for them to do it in the morning, first thing. They imagine different moments during their day when they could be compelled to pull or to bite or whatever it is you want them to change. You get them to bring their hand down, to breathe. I really recommend the breathing with it, to use a strong coping statement, and to give themselves a smile. I did it. And then to go on to another time during their day when they might have the desire to pull. Could be when they're in the car, traffic jam. It could be when they're at their computer. They're imagining these scenarios. You're getting them to use the habit reversal so they've understood the process. Then, if and when during the day they do want to pull or to bite or whatever it is they do, they then use it. Yes, you're giving them a strategy, one that they can use easily, simply, even if they're around somebody else. Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Fantastic. So I mean, because you've adapted and you've changed the kind of and I think built on the protocol, but the central thing is usually typically delivered in a single 2 hour session. And certainly I have found, in all my experience, that single 2 hour session, it breaks habits. I mean, it just does. It's incredible. It's very systematic, very structured. But in the research on it, and you've probably read more into this than me now, as you know, in the research on it, though there's quite a few elements to it. The key elements are development of awareness training, the competing response method, and curiously, social support. Could you speak to those, and also any other research that you've maybe looked into that said, well, what is the most important part of the habit reversal training protocol?
What's the most important part? I think it's the awareness. It's one, building the picture up beforehand. Yeah. I haven't read any more than probably you have. I've read all the books that there are about Trichotillomania, which all talk about habit reversal in one way or another. The latest book that's come out also adds what I do, which is what the college does, which is teach about relaxation, about mindfulness, about presence. Yeah, because when we indulge in these habits, it's because we're not present. Yeah. So
Interesting.
being able
Interesting.
to develop your capacity to self-regulate your emotions through emotional regulation, knowing how to relax, knowing how to be present, recognizing your breathing when it's getting tense, recognizing when you feel anxious. All of that is so it's awareness not only of the habit, but awareness of how you feel, how you are feeling. Yeah. Which is
And the thoughts that are all the whole
yes,
internal world that's going
yes,
on then. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And kind of shining more and more of a light on that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Um,
one is the external, what's happening around me that are the triggers. Then it's what's happening with my hand, yeah, that you change, and then it's what's happening in my thoughts and what's happening in my body and my tension. Yeah.
So when we talk about, let's just come back, talk about the triggers a little bit, because obviously the one thing is, hey, just don't sit in the chair, and that
Mm.
trigger's gone to a certain extent. But there's a couple of other aspects of triggers. One, I got a sense earlier, kind of forewarned is forearmed. So, a bit of sometimes we call it a traffic light system. I don't know if you use that, green,
Yeah.
don't have to worry about having a
Yeah.
cigarette. Amber, be cautious. Red, just don't get into that situation. So I don't know, is that an aspect? And then the other is, of course, the rehearsal of the target situations, the challenging situations.
Yeah. It's definitely the traffic light, because somebody doesn't pull their hair all the time. Yeah, they don't pull their hair when they're on the beach drinking a cocktail. Yeah, they'll pull their hair when they're tired at the end of the day in front of their computer, or when they're tired and they're in front of the television, or when they're in the car worrying about what they're going to cook tonight, or whatever it is. So I call it chasing and finding trichotillomania where it is. Yeah, finding it, hunting it down. Yeah, and then putting in place that, okay, what can you do in the car? What can you use in the car? Maybe you could put a message on the what do you call it, the where you put the, can't think of the word, in your car somewhere. You
The
put a
visor.
message.
Yeah, the sun
Yes,
visor.
that's it. You put a message up there. Maybe you use a fidget toy. Maybe you put the music on. Maybe you've got a podcast. All of these strategies that you can that you can use. I don't know whether I've answered your question.
Well, yeah, no, it was about that. Yeah, using a kind of a way of ranking the risk, so to
Yes.
speak,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
that people are more prepared and have strategies for
Yeah.
and also will have more of that present moment awareness. Suddenly, be aware. This is a situation where you used to, so that awareness, just forearming them. And then the other thing is, of course, then rehearsing. I mean, having strategies and then rehearsing these strategies as well.
Yeah. In the program that I run, which goes on between 4 to 6 months, the person has got the time to come back and for us to discuss, okay, when were you triggered? What happened? So we're building these levels of awareness each time and confidence. Yeah. I stopped. I was able to stop. What did you do? What happened? Which of the relaxation techniques did you use? Mindfulness techniques did you use? Yeah. In other words, when you have something like skin picking or hair pulling, there is something in your daily routine in your life that has to change. Yeah. You can't keep doing what you've done because you're just going to keep doing what you do. So there has to be change. There has to be the integration of relaxation, mindfulness tools. There has to be, yeah. There has to be understanding of what my thoughts are. There has to be that ability to distance yourself from your thoughts. They're no longer overwhelming you.
So I know your program is, as you say, it runs over 4 to 6 months. It's not kind of a single session with follow-up. It's much more than that. Now I want to ask a couple of questions about that. I mean, one, is it acknowledged that for these particular two types of habits that it generally takes more than the single session, which for nail biting I would go, single session of follow-up. Secondly, I'm assuming that allows time for relapses to occur, and you kind of want relapses to occur so you can
Yes.
catch them.
Yes.
And thirdly,
Yes.
I'm sorry my questions are stacked like this, but I'll remember. And thirdly,
Test of my memory.
yeah, you're testing my memory. I had it all mapped out what the third one was as well. Well, these are, I mean, I think there are a couple of probably comorbid things going on here in terms of anxiety,
Yes.
social
Yes.
anxiety particularly, but then also potentially depression as well. So
Yes.
let's kind of go through those in terms of, is it generally acknowledged that people need more than a single session of habit reversal training for these two particular repetitive habits?
Yes, it is generally acknowledged. If somebody has already been to a hypnotherapist or somebody who's just done something for one session, they'll say, I stopped for a couple of days, or I stopped for a week, or maybe I stopped for a month and then I started again, because they don't have any strategies. If they've just been to a hypnotherapist who's done a bit of relaxation or some kind of a visualization, it will give them the confidence for a while, but they don't have the tools. They don't know what their triggers
Yeah,
are.
but
They
I
don't know
agree with
how
that.
to,
But
yeah,
let's say they've been to see a behavior therapist who done single session habit
yes,
reversal training with them. You're saying even if they've done that really well, generally for these, because for nail biting, I'm confident, good
yeah,
behavior therapist, single session, bam. But you're saying for these two types of
yeah,
habits, it takes more.
it takes more, yeah.
Is that because of the comorbidity with anxiety and depression, or is it just because these have got particular sort of momentum and velocity to them?
Yeah, I think it's both. Yeah, and it is a habit which is a compulsive urge. When people are talking about it, it's I can't not pull. I have to pull. I have to get rid of this. It has to go. I couldn't sleep because of it. I had to cut it off. Yeah.
How is it related to perfectionism or OCD?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Often when people are hair pullers or skin pickers, there's a certain amount of perfectionism. There can be OCD. There can be anxiety. Certainly, there can be depression. So there is a certain amount of comorbidity.
Because I'm thinking, I mean, obviously one could see
Lack of
some of those,
confidence.
some of those things being already the tendency towards perfectionism and OCD leading towards the habit, but anxiety and depression could come out of the results of the habit, changing the appearance, but then also maintaining it as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So often you have people who are on certain anxiety suppressant anxiety
Medication.
medication. Some people have panic attacks. So there is often other stuff going on. Yeah. But my particular thing is, let's look at you're coming to me for hair pulling. If we can deal with the hair pulling, often we're improving the confidence, the self-efficacy, and so the anxiety is less.
Is
Yeah.
less. So
Doesn't mean it
let's
disappears, and you're also giving them tools to deal with that anxiety.
Well,
Yeah.
I want to, yeah, let's talk about that in a minute, perhaps. But the relapse prevention element, the idea of you doing this along it, because this thing, even with a good behavior therapist doing really good habit reversal training, they'll tend to be relapse and not more than one. So they need to have it over a period of time, and the multiple relapses that allow them to kind of, I call it patching the leaks in the boat. But um, can you speak to that? That you want your
Yeah.
patients to relapse, you want your clients to relapse on the course of treatment in a way?
Yeah, when I speak to them initially, I say, look, this is going to sound weird, but I almost want you to pull or to pick during this program, because otherwise you're going to go away thinking, whoopee, I'm cured. And then the minute something happens, you're going to think, oh no, it didn't work. I'm useless. It's terrible. Yeah. Whereas if there's a situation and you can just pick one hair or two hairs and stop, then you've won. Yeah. Then you've won. Then you're using the strategies, because it's something that you don't like nail biting. You can stop and not do it ever again. Hair pulling, it's a different beast. Skin picking, it's a different beast. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's
Interesting.
a chronic behavior. It's a chronic behavior. So it's something where when the program is ended, I also keep in contact with the person, and I offer every 6 weeks, there's a group Zoom call. People who've done the program can join, just so that they can keep up their motivation, keep up
Nice.
the positive stuff they're doing. If they're going through a bad patch, you can give them a bit of a boost, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And how important is that aspect of, I mean, obviously that's getting together as a group, but part of the research and part of the protocol and part of the research into habit reversal training is that social support is one of the central pillars that makes it work, in terms of not so much encouragement, but people able to remind you and that you're doing the habit so that you can use your
Yeah.
stopping technique.
Yeah.
Is that very much part of it? And do people who are hermits who live on their own have a tougher time?
People, it goes without saying that people who've got a loving, caring partner or family around them who understand, it's going to be easier for them, yeah, to implement the stuff that they need to change, to do and to use the habit reversal, than people who are in difficult situations, of
So if,
course.
if if there's a feeling of a whole team around you
Yes.
supporting you
Yeah.
with this, helping remind you, encourage, it's good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you mentioned self-efficacy, confidence, this feeling that I can do, so that I can.
Yes.
How I'm passionate about this is kind of maybe the central element that runs through
Mm.
everything. How central do you think it is in treating these two particular issues?
It's absolutely essential. Yeah. People talk about trichotillomania, saying it's come back. It's come back, which says everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm out of
It's come
control.
back.
It's coming. Yeah.
It's come back. I can't do anything about it. I don't know why. It's come back. When they start the work, they can see that they are in control and they have let it come back. Yeah. Which is kind of, oh God, so it's my responsibility. Yeah. But that's good, because
Yeah.
it gives you the ability to do something about it. If it really was something that just came, you can't do anything about it. But here you can. So
But that
yes.
that
Yeah.
that phrase, I like Mike and Bow's phrase, that their instrumentality, they're instrumental in this, and they as
Yes.
they see it, then they
Yes.
can, yeah.
Yeah.
How central is the use of hypnosis for you there, in terms of reinforcing, also expanding, because you can also be giving lots of suggestions for all sorts of
Yeah.
well-being and confidence and ego strengthening
Yeah.
stuff that is, I don't know, I'm increasingly seeing how, how just massively supportive that is. But
Yes,
what's
it's a super support. It's a super support. I often use the two paths.
okay.
Yeah, especially at the end of the program, saying this is where you were and this is where you are now. Of course, all of the adapted confidence building, and I've created particular scripts as well for people. So you can really have a field day with hypnosis, changing that mindset. Yeah, instead of that negative self-hypnosis, I can't stop. I'm never going to be able to stop. This is always going to happen. Yeah.
Have you written some? I mean, I understand you saying that you do create some tailored scripts for people. Have you created some specific scripts for your habit reversal approach to support it?
Yes. Yeah. When I do the habit reversal, in the session, I always then afterwards do a hypnosis part, or always mostly do a hypnosis part,
So
where the person can see themselves practicing it, using it, smiling to
being
themselves, feeling more
successful. Yeah.
confident. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Because I think it's just, I'm always this using hypnosis to support the processes that we're actually
Yes.
doing
Yeah.
is, this is, I think, the really creative interweaving of it.
It's not it's not doing the it's not teaching the habit reversal in hypnosis.
Yes, yes.
It's teaching the habit reversal and then supporting it,
Reinforcing it. Yeah.
reinforcing the person's belief using hypnosis. Yeah. And then they have that recording and then they can listen to it again.
I mean, how wonderful that you're in there and giving hope to these people out there. Have you gone out there and got any media coverage for this? Because I mean, there's a couple of things here that's interesting. One, these big groups, and there's all this woo and not that much hope going on. Secondly, I know that habit reversal training is just not known. I mean, we had one guy come from the NHS to train with us just to learn, did the whole 21-day training just to learn the habit reversal training. And I was like, wow, because it's not some of these things, these old behavior therapy techniques are just forgotten.
Yeah. Media coverage. No, not really.
Interesting. I mean,
I've
it's an
done a few
interesting.
articles, I've done a few bits and bobs, but I haven't done anything.
I mean, it's interesting. It's an interesting. I mean, there's a lot of human interest angle in that, I think, and I think we're all probably quite moved by hearing the fact how debilitating. I mean, how much it impacts
Oh,
people.
the stories are yeah, they're really, really powerful. These stories of women who spend hours covering up, pretending, fearful. Can you imagine going to the theatre? You're afraid somebody's going to be behind you. You're afraid you don't want people to walk behind you. You don't want people to come up to you. You don't want anyone talking about your hair. Yeah, you can't go to the hairdressers. Hairdressers is a really big deal. Yeah,
Yes, I
intimate
get.
relationships. It's
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Uh,
It goes really deep. Yeah.
I think you should have a YouTube channel. These people sharing their
Oh,
stories of
there is
success.
out there. There is. I was at the BFRB conference in October at Oxford. It was in the Museum of Natural Sciences in Oxford, because a person who has, she's a eyebrow puller, eyelash puller, is also an Oxford professor. And she's decided to do something about this, after years of hiding it and being
Mhm.
ashamed of it. And she got together a whole load of her cohort of professors in neurobiology, etc. And there were a couple of days dedicated to it. Very interesting. Not so much on the therapeutic side. It was more on the why does it exist, what causes it, does it exist in the animal kingdom, etc.
Yeah.
On the therapy side, it was still very much I don't know if you've heard of the COMBI method, which is the Trichotillomania Learning Center. It's kind of habit reversal with cognitive behavioral therapy.
Mm.
That's the golden standard. I think what I do And what I've also found in the latest book of adding onto that the absolute importance of learning to relax, to let go, to be aware of how your muscles are, how your muscles feel, what your mind is doing is key.
Yeah, well,
Habit reversal without that.
I'm, as you know, I'm passionate about the muscle relaxation. I mean, there's the autonomic relaxation, fine, you feel peaceful and calm, but to me, my reading of the literature and interpretation of it is that tension and also just general background tone increases habit strength. So the more tense we are, the more automatic reactive we are, and the less tense we are, the less automatic reactive are. So, I try to emphasize before we do any habit change, we want to do some muscle relaxation, and then people are able to change their thoughts, they change their behaviors, even get into different emotional. I mean, that everything can change more easily because if you're tense, you're just on the train tracks.
Yes. And you don't even know that you're tense.
Yeah. So
Which
we
is
can,
why I was so relaxed when you did the progressive muscle relaxation. Oh,
yeah, I know. Unless it's a huge discovery. I just think that, weaken the habit first of all by getting them to practice the muscle relaxation again and again and again and
yes.
integrating it. So some questions here. Let's dive in. It's just fascinating. I want to find out more. Somebody says here, and Sarah sent this question in, Sarah Gorston. Can you work with ADHD and skin picking?
Yeah, often the people who I work with have ADHD. Yeah. It's a real big, it goes together. It's comorbidity again. Yeah.
But you're saying it is treatable? Because I mean, people think ADHD isn't, but the main non-medication way of helping with ADHD is cognitive behavioral therapy, particularly quite a behavioral approach in a way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're saying,
Recognizing it, putting in place the getting rid of the stimulants that are gonna increase the ADHD. Yeah. I remember working with one lady, it's a couple of years ago now, a hair puller and skin picker. She had both, and she just couldn't relax. Just couldn't relax. When I did the first relaxations with her, she was almost going into a panic attack. It was so difficult for her to relax. Yeah, to let go of this need to constantly be on the, which is, I can't do it. By the end of it, she was able to let go, relax,
interesting.
and
Well,
use stuff. Not talking about long meditations, yeah,
no,
but 10,
rapid
10 minutes.
or even
Yeah,
quicker. Yeah.
yeah,
And I think it's interesting because again, my read of the literature there is that your attention distraction is going to be caused by how kind of tense you are. So you undermine the whole orienting reflex to new stimuli by being so relaxed that you're like, yeah, well. So to reducing the muscle tension, I think I'm no one's looking into that, but I think they should.
yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah. It was interesting when I was at the BFRB conference. Nobody was talking about it. It's kind of, why aren't you guys talking about stuff?
yeah,
Yeah,
because once you see it, it's kind of obvious. Like the more tense
yeah,
you are, the more you're dragged around by stuff, and the
yeah.
more relaxed you are, the more choiceful you can be.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so and then Kathy asks here, are there any differences? Again, this is pretty similar. Are there any differences you would utilize for neurodivergent individuals, especially autistic, for whom there's also a very stimmy, as in empt, self-stimulated
Yeah,
behaviors? Plus, autistic folk have a lot of demand avoidance too, which can get in way of committed action.
yeah. Autism, I say no, that's beyond my remit. Yeah.
Okay, good. I mean, I think that's good. You're clear on the sphere of
Sphere
competence
of
there.
competence,
Yeah.
yeah. Sphere of comfort as well. Competence and comfort. Yeah, there are things where, yes, trichotillomania or dermatillomania can be present, but autism is a different beast. Yeah,
Yeah,
which
we're going to get some people here with we have that late Multi-American Turkish writer up in Wales who works particularly that's the area she works in. So we'll have to pull her in for one and we can quiz her. You can join me. We can
yeah,
quiz her. But I again would say, again, self-regulation through muscle relaxation brings everything much more under control, you know. So we're not so reactive to anything. We can be more choiceful, and that's going to work for everybody. That
yeah.
will work for.
But working with people who have moderate to moderate autism can be quite challenging.
Yeah, I think there are other dimensions to that. Just Often I found just getting them to turn up because they tend to spend the 40 hours playing computer games or something like that, and they didn't turn up.
Yeah, and it's kind of like there are so many other people out there that we are
Yeah.
trained to be able to deal with. So for if the person who asked the question is just training, just look at all the people that you can work with. Because I've done it. Yeah, I've tried to work with somebody who has autism and hair pulling, and it just doesn't work because it's not. I don't know what to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I think,
beyond what I know what to do with.
Kathy, if you know how to work with those people, then I think you could apply that, because you're going to bring in a replacement behavior.
Yes.
That's going to be the key thing, that is not going to, that is incompatible, but is it maybe a stimming type behavior that's incompatible with the skin picking or the hair pulling. And
Mm,
that's the central part of the habit reversal method anyway. So it's just switching into something else that can
mm,
replace it. And I think that aspect of well, that aspect of what function does the behavior serve, I think is interesting, because in a lot of the nail biting and things like that, it doesn't really serve that much of a function. It's kind of just a little sort of a latent habit that once we eradicate it, we haven't, it's not like it's not a way they cope with anxiety. But what, so that,
whereas with
yeah,
hair pulling,
yeah.
it is something where they say, I
Hey,
just feel so relieved, so relaxed, so calm once I've been hair pulling. It's something that they know that they don't want to do it, and yet you hear people say there is nothing as good as this. Yeah.
so when they get more tense and anxious, they tend to think about doing that, then and then they can't, and then it gets stronger and stronger, and then they do it and they get the relief, and that's the
Yes.
cycle.
Yes.
That's the
It's how
cycle.
they regulate their
Okay.
emotions. Yeah. It's either distraction, I can't cope with it, but pulling and it's almost as if when you hear some people talk about hair pulling. One lady I worked with was a librarian in a school, and we had a laugh about it because it was as if she was organizing the library. Yeah, because there are certain hairs that go because it's a certain color or a certain feel or a certain texture or a certain length. Those go. So while you're doing that, and people often talk about it, they feel as if they've really achieved something, as if it's really good. Yeah.
I
While
think
they're doing that, and they know it's crazy. You have to have a joyful discussion with people. But when they're doing that, they know they're not worrying about the bigger things, the real
yes,
problems.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So it can be like an avoid a little my I sometimes I say it's my own little pleasurable project that I can control and do without anything else
Yes,
happening,
it's
and I can
it's
do.
they go to the land of hair or eyebrow where they're the king or the queen. They can
Yeah,
decide who lives, who goes, who stays, who's good, who's bad. Whereas the big wide world outside, you can't.
more uncontrollable. Yeah. So
Yes.
completely
Yeah.
this little project they're completely in
Yeah.
control of. It's an
Yeah.
interest. I've often thought of it that way. I said, like,
Yeah.
because you
Which
ask all
is
these
what which is
questions.
why you can see you really need to ask those
Yeah, yeah.
questions to get that information, and then
Got to
to
get.
understand what's the pleasure with it. What's the pleasure? And then to understand as well the rituals. Yeah.
Yeah,
The rituals of pulling out the eyelashes. And I had a couple of ladies putting them on white pieces of paper to count them. Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah. So this lady, and it was always at the end of the day that she used to do it when she was a bit stressed out. The kids had come home. She was kind of trying to be mum and working at the same time. And she would be in her office pulling at her eyelashes, putting them on. It had to be white paper. Yeah. So, of course, first thing you say is get rid of the white paper. Yeah. Get
Yes.
rid of the white paper,
Yeah.
which
Do it
which
on
is
black.
part
Do it
which
on
is
black
which is
paper.
part of
Do
the
it on
thing.
black.
Yeah. And then a little bit of problem solving. How can you switch your day off earlier so that you can be the mum that you want to be and not be half mum, half at work? So there's that aspect to it as well. But the rituals that people have, it's very important to understand that as well, and to get them to stop the ritual. If they can't stop the pulling, then stop that. Stop the putting it on the paper or the rolling it into a ball or the moving it
The
through
other
the
ones. Yeah, yeah.
mouth.
Break all of that apart as much as possible. To what extent? these two habits, obviously, as you say, impact appearance, mostly with women, and that then also the social anxiety is and social avoidance is strong. To what extent are we got a vicious circle there that then that the social anxiety and avoidance becomes
Yeah.
what is maintained?
Yeah.
Is that yeah?
Yes. Yeah. 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 And then they go to the doctors. Some doctors say, what? Just stop pulling.
Oh, really? Or I imagine that antidepressants though become is that the
Antidepressants or whatever, or they go onto a list and then,
do
yeah.
you assess for anxiety and depression using like PHQ-9
Yes.
GAD-7?
Yeah.
And if interesting, if you do, um, what sort of score improvements do you see there? In because I'm imagining those scores. Obviously, that's not the main focus because the focus is on the habit, and I'm imagining you're measuring that, and they're keeping a habit diary.
Yeah.
We could talk about that as well. But in terms of PHQ-9 GAD-7, do you see shifts in that? Do you use other assessment tools as well?
No, I use the PHQ GAD. To be honest, I don't do the post. I don't ask them
Okay.
afterwards the same question. So I couldn't tell you that. I just know that most people, because nobody has 100% success rate, that most people, there's a real improvement in their ability to cope with hair pulling, and thus their ability to control their emotions in a different way, their awareness of how they feel, and so their anxiety is less. Plus all the other stuff we do, yeah, problem solving, etc.
Where roughly are there sort of, I'm imagining most people have got some mild to moderate anxiety and maybe mild to moderate depression symptoms going on that are, yeah.
Yes, yeah, it's usually anxiety, restlessness, feeling low, difficulty sleeping, the usual things,
Do you
but
end up with
anxiety,
much suicidal ideation around this or not?
no,
No, interesting. Interesting.
no, no. And
That's
I think if there was a real strong suicidal ideation, then I would say, you need as well. I can be with you, but you need different help as well. Yeah.
we're gonna Chrissy Ivings, who did I don't know if you watched, clinical psychologist who did an interview. She's developing a risk assessment and management on self-harm and suicide and suicidal ideation, so that which we're going to have available, you guys, tutors and coaches first, to be able to do that.
Mm.
But she also would see it as, but there is an opportunity there as well because they're with you, they've chosen you, and so it's interesting.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
interesting, not just so we'll look at that. But it's interesting that you don't, because I could imagine that some people could get there, but they don't actually. As opposed to, for example, with severe IBS, really severe, a third of people have quite strong suicidal ideation because it's so distressing for them. But that's
Mm.
interesting that doesn't get to that
Yeah.
level around that,
No.
or at least they don't come to you.
No, 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 or they don't come to me. Yeah. There's a sadness, there's a feeling of helplessness, there's a feeling of hopelessness, there's a feeling of it coming to me.
Yeah,
There's all of that, plus the social anxiety
it
that
goes with
goes
that.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Berena's here. Are you also working with people who are stuttering? Have you worked with any?
No, I haven't actually. No, I haven't had any stutterers. And I was somebody who stuttered for many years, but no, I've never had anyone with stuttering. No. Yeah,
Um,
my other work is yeah, so I'd say about half my clients are trichotillomania or dermatillomania.
okay. And what are some of the other clients you end up seeing, and kind of, I'm interested to see what
Um,
directions you might go in as well.
I had somebody the other day, the mother phoned up, she was afraid of whales. I said, "Do you mean the country?"
They're going to invade. They're going to come with their leaks. No.
No, the animal. I said, "Why is that a problem? We're in Teddington. There aren't any whales in Teddington." Anyway, this mother wanted to take her daughter on a holiday to San Francisco, and they were going to go on a whaling. I said,
Oh,
"That's a good idea, isn't it? With your daughter who's afraid of whales." Anyway, so that kind of thing. Phobias. I work quite a lot as well with people with FND, functional neurological disorder. That's an interesting one.
interesting. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that was when I first set out. One of the things I did, I went on to some, I can't even remember how I got there, some webinar, and I was some business present what you do, and the other person presents what they do. And one of the women there suffers with functional neurological disorder. There's a blog on my website that people can look at that I wrote with her. Functional, it's a weird thing, functional neurological
But it's
disorder.
going to be quite catchy. So that's on the motor side or what?
There's no physiological explanation for it.
But is it a
There's nothing wrong.
movement
It can
or
be
seizures or what?
movements. Yeah, it can be movements. It can be seizures.
Yeah.
It can be the startle effect. I worked with
Yeah.
one lady. I'm working with a lady at the moment who is a real fear response. And so there again, cognitive behavioral hypnotherapy can be very useful for that. There's an excellent video by Jason Price on YouTube who does hypnotherapy. I think he's passed away now, but his video is excellent on that.
I was
how you
watching.
can use FND, how you can use hypnotherapy to help people gain that early awareness of the symptom, and then be able to control and change it.
There was a wonderful 15-minute lecture. I think it's Professor Jeffrey Stone, Professor of Physiology. I think that's his name, somewhere in London, St Michael's or something. And he's just in an afternoon, somebody who can barely walk with the move.
Yes.
Have you seen that one?
Right.
And
Yes.
it's just, and basically they're focusing too much inside and disordering their own walking. And as soon as their attention is switched outside, he shows that when they're walking along and they turn and they're not thinking about their walking when they turn, the movement's fine. As soon as they think about their walking, they get this all become massively.
It's a very strange one. So I have, because I'd worked with that lady, I have quite a few people coming for that. And then other bits and bobs.
Tony asks here, do you reinvest regularly in CPD to broaden your specialty?
Yeah, I did. Well, I went to this conference in September. I did the Trichotillomania online learning program course. I read the latest book that I've got. This is a really good one.
The BFRB.
Okay. BFRB recovery workbook, and it talks about leaves on the stream. It talks about progressive muscle relaxation. It's a 2024 book, and it's the first one that links all of it together. Not only habit reversal, but also the idea of relaxation and mindfulness with it. Yeah, I tried to keep on top of it.
Fantastic. Well, you need to write the book, because we already put that all to that, that kind of, bringing all these things together. So yeah, I love that you're doing that. Fiona's
What's that book? It's this.
The BFB recovery workbook.
If you go onto my website, I'm plugging my website here. If you go onto the hair pulling page, I have got
I'm going to get your website up, because
I've got a bibliography on that page.
Let's get your website up.
Oh, don't.
No, it's lovely.
It's good enough.
Photos,
it's a good enough website.
There's lovely photos up there and everything. Here we go. Look. Fantastic. So here's Morag's website. It's called positiveactionstoday.com. positiveactionstoday.com. And yeah, and so where would we find the
if you go on hypnotherapy and you scroll down, you've got hair pulling.
Trichotillomania. Interesting.
If you go down, right at the bottom. So I've got video testimonials. That's quite nice.
Nice. I like that. Down. 18 coping techniques.
Yeah.
More. Okay, here we go. Help for hair pullers, the hair pulling problem.
The one that I've just recommended is the last one.
That's the one there at the bottom, the last one.
Yeah.
By Jessica Kingsley Publishers. Fantastic. And let's just, while you're here, let's just have a look at your fees, everybody. Some inspiration here for some, yeah. So cognitive behavioral hypnotherapy sessions, £95 on Zoom, 110 in person. First session's an hour 15 to hour 30. Smoking cessation, £400. And then then this is you. So you get them to commit into a whole program here. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
7 individual sessions, one at 90-minute session, 6 1-hour sessions, and then also continuing group support sessions. How
Yes.
great is that? I mean, I kind of like that you're framing it like that in terms of, you've got to, because that commitment into this as a project rather than
Yes.
coming for a session and being cured.
Yeah, no. Hair pulling out, no, doesn't work. And
Yeah.
I've also added on now, I need to add it onto my website, that people can partner up as a accountability partners. I've got
Oh, they
quite
can
a few
have sort of
people doing that.
buddies.
Yeah,
They can have a
yeah,
hair pulling buddy and pull each
yeah,
other's hair. No, they don't pull each other's hair. They can, but a buddy, yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Okay, very nice. Very good. Love it. Love it. So, I think that's all. Somebody, anonymous attendee, we love you the name. It did put in, is the business coach you mentioned external to this program? I believe they must be, because I'm not aware we have a business coach that helps set up
Yeah,
Facebook.
it was because when I did the program with the college, there wasn't any business element to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was external, but it is something that's very, if you do have a niche speciality, like I've got, which could fit into a Facebook group. The difference between LinkedIn and what's the other one, Instagram, is that you don't have these groups, to my knowledge. On Instagram, you kind of publish for everybody, or on LinkedIn, you publish for everybody. Whereas if you've got one of these niche subjects that not everybody I'm thinking about erectile dysfunction. Don't know why I'm thinking about that, but something like that. Yeah. It's not something it's not something that you want to go onto LinkedIn with, yeah. But it is something maybe where you would want to set up a group, yeah, or weight loss or menopause or something like that. Something that
How do
people
people
can.
find you? So you set up and it's a private group. People got to fill in a bit of a form, so not everyone can, and you approve them, I assume, something like that.
Yes, and you also get their email address so you can
Oh yeah,
send newsletters.
because otherwise
Funneling.
Facebook's a little bit challenging to get to communicate with your whole group. The question is, how do you get people to know about the group? Are you advertising? You just post? You
No,
just doing just organic social?
it's organic social. It's joining the other groups that treat the
Ah,
same
yes.
problem. It's and I've been running it 3.5 years, and some of the people have been on there since the beginning, and they're not friends, but they're people who I know, yeah, or
How
who
much?
I've worked with. And
How many times? Go on. Go on.
and what's wonderful as well is that the people who've been on the program are still on the Facebook page, so it groups, so it gives them that link still to you. Yeah.
Lovely. And
Consistency in publishing. Consistency,
yeah,
consistency, consistency,
how many times a week are you in
consistency.
there?
Every day.
Oh,
Every
really?
day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every day or every 2 days. Yeah. I don't go on at the weekends, usually, but yeah, it's consistency, consistent posting.
How many clients do you get from them? Is that your main source for those two
Um,
particular behaviors, or?
yeah, I would say so. Other people from the website,
Hmm.
other people from somebody who I've worked with, but that's rarer because I have treated people in the same family, two groups of two
They
sisters.
don't
So
tend
because
to share. People
sometimes,
don't share about this too much. Whereas
yeah,
the
yeah,
insomnia or the smoking, you can get a
yeah,
massive referral thing and weight loss. But this isn't
yeah,
so much. It's like the
no,
erectile dysfunction. Yeah,
yeah.
who fixed me?
Yeah, no. So it's consistent working on that community. And I have people who've been on there for 3 years, like the girl who I just started with yesterday. It's her mum who was in the group, who never says anything. Lots of people are on the group without saying anything because they're in,
Yeah.
there's all sorts of things behind that.
Mm.
So, and her
Lurkers.
daughter's just signed up last week. So yeah, I get half of my clients from there.
And
Free. It's
and
free.
I mean, that's interesting, isn't it? And what about social media following generally and your activity on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube?
I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on YouTube. I'm not on. I think when you decide what your speciality is, if you have got one, decide where you're going to put your energy, because it is, it takes time.
Yeah.
Is your speciality more LinkedIn? So go on LinkedIn. Is it more Instagram? Go on Instagram. You can't be everywhere. It's
Yeah, no, I could see you get, TikTok, that could get quite an interesting, there's so much nonsense out there. So, and you point all people to your Facebook group, but don't necessarily have to interact with them on TikTok, I could see.
yeah, no,
So,
I haven't discovered the joys of TikTok.
so from a business point of view, this has been I mean, you're a very successful woman in business. I mean, let's just acknowledge that. Incredible rise at the ranks. How is this for you working out?
Well, yeah, it ticks the boxes that I wanted it to tick, because I wanted to be more flexible with my time. I wanted to be able to move between the countries. I
Mm,
wanted something where I felt I was helping people.
mm,
Yeah, I didn't want to be managing board meetings and all of that anymore. So yeah, no, it's worked out well. You have to work at it. Um, I think I was listening to one of the past with Barry, one of the
yeah.
sessions you did with Barry, saying that for every 1 hour you do with a client, you've got to do about 3 hours of marketing or something, yeah, to bring in new business, yeah.
To begin with, I think. I mean, sure, do you still do that ratio or not?
Um, Not now,
Yeah.
not now, but you have to learn how to do it, yeah. What works, what doesn't
Yeah.
work, what's
No,
useful, what isn't
I
useful.
had, there was this guy, he's passed away now, David Botsford, who was one of the Harley Street smoking cessation hypnotherapists and who gave a money back guarantee. And we partnered together and I bought his whole thing on marketing your business. It was CDs and a big, huge book like that, printed thing like this. But one of his things was saying basically, when you start up, you think everyone's going to turn up. You put the sign out, everyone's going to turn up. They don't turn up. He says you're going to you should think about doing 8 hours of marketing for every 1 hour you see a client to begin with. That, of course, changes, particularly as you build up these systems that you've got there,
Yes, yeah.
referrals, etc. But to begin with, I mean, that's maybe more than you need to do, but certainly the 3-to-1 ratio, yeah.
Yeah, and I do a newsletter every week, every couple of weeks,
Oh,
roughly.
nice. Well, you've got this particular topic then as well. And so, would you encourage people to specialize?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Fine. Obviously not from day one, but it just makes it easier. It makes your website easier. It makes your marketing easier. It just makes everything. Who are you talking to? Who's your client?
You've got to,
Who is he? Who is she? How old are they? What's their problem? What's the really big problem that you've got the answer to? And if you're doing a bit of everything, then how are you gonna speak to them?
yeah.
Yeah. Have a look on websites that aren't specialized. And when you look at the websites of some hypnotherapists who do, I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that, I'm good at this, you think, can't possibly be good at everything. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's my take on it
Well, I
anyway.
think the interesting thing is though, if you say and you say, well, I'm specialized in this and and clearly then, I'm good at this, but there's also a kind of spin-off implication that you probably are quite good at some other things as well because you've developed expertise in this. You've gone deep into this. So I think that's
Mm.
it. I think there is something. So I mean, people still come to see you for other things, right?
Yes, yeah. Because trichotillomania, you understand what anxiety is, you understand what stress is, you understand what tension is, you understand what low self-confidence is, you
And
understand what imposter syndrome is, you
you
understand,
understand that it's all and that they're all just habits and you
yeah,
understand habits.
yeah, you understand negative thinking, you
Yeah.
understand all of that. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Okay, now, what about some tips for people here? Final sort of,
Tips on what? On business? On
business. Yeah, tips on life. Finding a finding a partner, erectile dysfunction, whatever's top of the mind.
So I've got my little list of what I thought was good to do when you want to start your business up.
Oh,
Was do look at other websites and decide what you like, what you don't like. Do just get a website that's good enough. Don't think that that website is the end all and be all. Do register on the hypnotherapy directory. It's where I get a
Okay.
lot of clients from as well. But do work hard on your profile on it.
On
Yeah.
hypnotherapy directory, yeah.
Yeah. Because I phoned them up after a couple of months saying, I don't understand. I'm getting 0 views of my profile. They were very helpful people there, and they were saying, what have you ticked? And I'd only ticked online. I hadn't ticked face to face.
Yeah.
Simple thing like that. Get decent pictures. Do know that your website or your profile or whatever it is fluid. It's never ever done. You will always have a remake, a rejig, whatever of your website. Do register. This is a good one. Do register on local directories when you set up. Ones that have got nothing to do with hypnotherapy, like Yell, which is the old Yellow Pages, that kind of thing.
And why
Yeah.
would you say that?
Because it gets that Google ranking higher. Yeah.
Okay.
The more you're on Google, the more it's going to push your Google ranking up. So things like Cyclics, I think it is. There are a whole load of them that you can just sign up to. You won't get any clients from them, but it will push your ranking up. Do dare write articles as well for the hypnotherapy directory, for example, for your blog, for example, because that gets more people coming to your website as well. Do enjoy marketing your business. Enjoy it. Embrace it. Because you need to do it. And do be consistent. Yeah, don't just say, oh, it hasn't worked because you've done it once.
Mm,
Let's do it again. See
I
what's
see.
not working. See what you could do differently. Yeah.
Have you had some, we provide a lot more business support now.
Yeah.
We didn't have that then. That's something we really, worked hard to put in place. And we want suggestions, by the way, from everybody on how we could do that even better, because we're really interested in you being successful and having thrive at private practices. Having a business coach, using a business coach, taking some additional training in that or support in that. I mean, you're already somebody who you're a bit of a self-starter. Let's acknowledge this. Yeah.
Mm.
From your TEFL years through to sales or whatever,
Mm.
so some people have had much more of a kind of, a mothership around them, so to speak, and now they're going out to self-employment. Can you speak to that a little bit? And also you've supported women going out there and being successful doing sales, kind of is nearly as independent sales professionals or
Yeah.
close to that. Can you speak to that a little bit? What can people get help and how should they get help?
Can people get help?
Well,
Yes.
because people don't feel like, they don't know how to solve the problem of the fact, I don't know how to start my business.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, you can get help with the college, with private coaches, with the internet, with as well a notepad, a piece of paper saying, what do I want to achieve? What do I want? How many days a week do I want to work? What kind of salary do I want to get out of this? What's my objective? Yeah, it's not the same thing if you want to get 30, 40,000 or if you want to get 80, 90,000. It's probably not the same thing if you're 30 or if you're 60 odd when you're doing this. What do I want? So then what do I need to bring in? Yeah. What help do I need to do that? Yeah. Is it worth me spending weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks trying to understand how to do this damn website, or can I pay somebody and it would be a better use of my time and money? That kind of thing. So it's also you can do that with a coach as well, looking through, okay, what do I want? What do I need? Where do I want to go? How much do I need to earn? What do I
Would
want to
you,
specialize in?
in retrospect, would you have actually paid somebody to do your website than done it yourself and have the support?
Yeah, I'd have still paid somebody because I knew absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that and then you could have focused more on other things. And because I always remember one of the first people I trained, Gillian Wingard, back in 2013, sales manager as well, actually, interesting. And she just went straight out and found a designer who £2,000 back in 2013 built a great website and all the materials she wanted as well. And that website has just served her immensely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I especially wanted all of the background stuff to work because and this is, I think the website is easier to do on your own now. 4 years
Yeah.
ago was like 2 centuries ago in internet, in the internet world. But yeah, no, I definitely don't regret that. The business coach was expensive, but it allowed me to set up the Facebook group, know what to do, what not to do, how to do it. And it served me since then, and I'm getting half of my revenue from that.
So it's been all good investments. Yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't paid for advertising. I paid for Google Ads once. I got one client from it, didn't really understand how it worked, so I'm not going to waste some money on this. Didn't
How
do it
many
again.
clients
But
do you get? How many clients do you get through Hypnotherapy Directory?
I get quite a few. I get at least a third, I'd say, of my clients.
Wow, that's a great steal, because that's like £180 a year, isn't it? Something like that.
Yes, yeah, no, I definitely it's the one that comes up in the ranking the most. Whereas the what's the other one? NCH, National Council of Hypnotherapy. Had a couple of calls, but nothing from nothing else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely works well. And to build out, some people, I think, just have a profile on Hypnotherapy Directory instead of a website. I mean, well, that's their
Yeah,
calling card. Send
yeah,
people to their profile there. I mean,
yeah.
it's a kind of cheapest chips way of doing it, but I think it could, as a way of getting started quickly.
Yes, yeah. I'll definitely join that. Spend time on your profile. You can put pictures on. You can put links on there. There's all sorts of stuff you can do with it, and go back to it regularly.
Keep
Go back
refreshing
to
it.
it. Go back to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Any final questions for Morag? I've loved going through this with you. And Emma's here, Emma Seymour and Joel Raymond. I just want to say hi to you guys, because I know them both very well. And Emma said, after 12 years as a hypnotherapist, 100% agree with you about. I don't know what that was, Emma, but we were saying something. You 100% agreed with it. Emma's in chat. And yes, for Google ranking. Yeah. Specializing. Yeah. You're so welcome, Emma. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
We danced the night away at the UK Hypnosis Convention last year. I didn't make it this year, but don't have a dance fight with Emma on the dance floor. Love the clarity of your services, Angie says, and everything that's included. Fascinating discussion this morning. Love the idea of the Facebook groups. Merci beaucoup, Morag and Mark. You're so
De
welcome.
rien. Je t'en
Welcome.
prie.
Joel, how's it? We're going to get you on here soon, because we want to know how you're working with musicians, because Joel's a classical oboist.
Oh,
Yeah, he wasn't in your group. He just came in before your group, I think, at the hotel.
yeah.
You're so welcome, Ying. Somebody says here, what does a qualified hypnotherapist actually entail in terms of documentation? Do you have to document after seeing every client, as well as write your reflections on a regular basis in order to maintain your professional qualification?
Oh, another thing I would say, another
Yeah.
top tip is get a good supervisor.
Oh, that was important to you. That's been helpful to you.
Yes. Yeah. Get a good supervisor. And you can get supervisors that specialize in different areas. If you need one as well that's more business oriented, those exist as well. A supervisor, yeah. Writing up notes. Each hypnotherapist has got their own deal going on with that. I do it with the email that I send to the client that constitutes my notes, as well as the notebooks that I have. Yeah. You don't need to provide that to anybody.
Yeah, there's no need to provide that as part of your ongoing certification or things like that.
Oh, thank you, Kathy.
Is Kathy Kathy one of your students?
Yeah.
So let's just finish on that note. You do help. You are one of the tutors, coaches, supervisors yourself. So how's that? How long you been? I can't keep track of everything more. How long you been doing that, and how's that been going for you?
So I can't remember how I got onto it. I think it was Shelley who put out an email saying, is anybody interested in? And I said, oh yeah, I'll have a go. And yeah, I'm loving it. I'm loving it because there's no better way than learning than teaching stuff. Makes you revise. When somebody says, you know the exercise, and you're thinking, hang on a minute.
Yes. Yeah, it's it.
So there's that. There's that side of it. It's lovely meeting people and helping them through. I think it's getting more interesting with I think the new platform for the case studies, etc. I think
Yeah.
it's going to get easier because the background to it, folks, it's pretty it's a bit dicey on the Excel spreadsheet front, but it's getting better. Yeah, no, it's interesting working with the people. It's keeping me on my toes. No, very, and it's great being part of the college still, because if not, when you are a hypnotherapist, you're on your own.
Yeah,
You're on
this
your own.
aspect of, used to, I have a friend who was in marketing, then she trained as an acupuncturist, then she found she was just too lonely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
She's a bit of a classroom clown at work. That was part of her thing,
yeah,
and she couldn't do it with her clients. It's just
yeah, yeah,
she's
yeah.
sticking needles in them. She can't be cracking jokes too much. Let
Yeah,
me tell you.
so being part of the college
Yeah,
still helps with that. It's not the same as a sales team, but I didn't want to, I wanted to leave that world behind as well. So yeah, it's been great being able to do that. Yeah. Yeah.
fantastic. And I mean, I do find, even for me, and I know, it's always a refresher, and you come back and you go, okay, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh, I've got to remember to do that actually. It's like, because you're never going to run perfect sessions and
Yeah,
look at
talk the
all these
talk. Oh,
things.
I better do it now.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's another thing. Another top tip is to use the stuff from the course on yourself.
Yes, 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 yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hypnotize yourself to be a hypnotherapist. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. And thank you so much for everyone's kind attention here and encouragement. Great questions. Been lovely connecting with you, Morag. And I can't say just how touched I am by the whole team of tutors and coaches who are out there doing that. I'm not always in touch with you. Shelley is in a lot more. And I don't know, we just seem to have got just a great punch of great-hearted, smart, dedicated, sweetheart people.
Oh, thank you.
Really
I'll take
touched
my
us
part
both.
of that.
Definitely, absolutely, absolutely. And Kath is clearly really happy here as well with your support there. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. And yes, let's order. We're going to organize some socials in London soon. Joel, can you help us organize socials in London? But at least we'll invade the corner of a pub somewhere if we don't have our Hypno-CBT conference. But he's asking about Hypno-CBT conference, but we definitely
Yeah.
do want to get everyone together, as many can make it. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody. Sweet
Thank
dreams.
you.
A few more conference in
Thank you.
Ireland. All right, Ireland. Let it be Ireland.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
Morag.
Bye.